Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. Very glad to see you here. And here we mostly talk about adult coloring, coloring books, art materials, and whatever pops into our minds. And today's video is going to be, I call it a vlog. Although it's probably not a correct name for it, because vlog kind of implies a diary format, whereas this is just a collection of kind of random clips and bits and pieces that I have filmed and put it together into some sort of a journal. Maybe I should just, call it, a journal. There's quite a weird and fairly eclectic collection once again. There's no rhyme or reason to these, so I hope that there might be something that is interesting to you, or they're fairly short. Some are like little opinion things, some are tiny bit of a technique, and so on. So what I'm doing here at the moment is that I am starting with this double spread. And the way I like working in most books, which, have a lot going on the page, and I'm definitely not unique in this. A lot of people have said that, but, I definitely subscribe to the, I like to do the background first often, because that kind of gives me, then it kind of presents the image to me better somehow. So it does somewhat dictate things to you. If you do the background first, you kind of are committing to some bit of a color scheme, okay? But usually I go fairly neutral, or I genuinely then decide, before I start on the page, which isn't always the case. Very often I just pick the colors as I go. But yeah, sometimes I do kind of decide for myself, okay, this is going to be my color scheme. And I'm going to do this background with acrylic marker, kind of a like sky or night sky, because it seems to be night sky. There's stars all over the place, plus it would give me nice contrasts. So I'm going to do it. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to leave it flat, but at the moment I am going to put down kind of a flat background, and I'm doing it with Languo acrylic marker. This is from the Colorful Black set. They are kind of rare in the world of acrylic brush markers, which tend to be mostly on the pastel side, and they have really dark, strong kind of, essentially, there's black added, so really dark colors, and they are great for kind of doing backgrounds or adding, if you're, for example, just using them washed out or doing some shading with them, to get some really dark shading in. They are fantastic. So here I just have to remember and remind myself that next time I'm putting in an order to some place that sells them as well, that I should get a spare set, because I do use them a fair bit. And I always have this fear with anything that TEMU sells, or kind of, comes from China, in a popular product of the moment, that, once the first craze dies down, they won't make or sell them anymore. So I would like to have at least one spare set, because they are really great and they are nice and opaque. And if you work in small areas like this, kind of like tight areas, usually one layer is kind of enough. Also here I'm working on satin glazing base, and that also gives kind of a bit of grip to the pens or to the paint almost. So it goes down a little bit more opaque than it would if I just put it on the plain paper. If that's a bit of a tip, you know, if you want your acrylic markers to go down a bit smoother and with a better kind of a flatter finish, satin glazing base is kind of nice, but you do have to be careful. You're better off at least, you know, doing some sanding, or, you know, making sure that your base isn't too rough, or alternatively that you're being very gentle. Like at the moment I don't put any pressure on the brush at all, because obviously this, you know, if the surface is very rough, if you're using something like gesso or whatever, that can bang up your acrylic markers pretty badly. So yeah, anyways, that was a long intro to what is essentially a bit haphazard collection of little clips. So I'll shut up now and I'll let you to watch the rest of the video. I think I have mentioned the binding of this book before several times, because I have a whip here, and every time I open this book and every time I even show it to you, I can see how this glue bound binding, you can see it's glue bound like this. It has kind of like ribbon or tape binding here, and it's just plain glue bound. And every time I open it, the page that I'm on, I can see the gap, and, you know, the book starting to fall apart more and more. So what I did eventually, this is the whip we're talking about. It's almost there, bits to do, but yeah, mostly there. I just decided, well, I was trying to figure out and make up my mind what I should do. I didn't want the book to fall apart. It would have really annoyed me. So instead of, I was thinking about maybe clear tape, the matte clear tape, but I just didn't think it would look great next to the image like this. And I wouldn't want any patterned paper here or colored paper. It would kind of throw the balance of the colors in the image. So what I decided to do is just to take black tape, and I think that is a really good solution for books like this, if you can, you know, if you have room like you have on this, on the other side, or, you know, if you can even it out. But here it worked better if I put just a tiny bit of tape on this page and the rest of it onto the page beside it, because it doesn't overpower, and it almost helps to, I swear to you, the image actually looks better now when it's kind of framed like this. That actually acts a bit like a frame, and, you know, brings things kind of closer and more forward. So I think it actually works great. And what I'm used for it is just your regular black masking tape. It's not it's not permanent tape technically, but I swear to you, this masking tape is so sticky. Like, I've had proper tapes that were less sticky than this, to be honest. I feel for the poor soul who will actually try to use this masking tape. So how to do it? No art to it. Basically, you open it. Now, I understand that the purpose of this binding is that it would lay flat, but it also, of course, makes it very likely that the book will fall apart. So what I do is just, I take a piece that would be long enough to do the full book, and I am sticking it so that very, very little of it is actually going into the page, because there's no borders to the page. I have to cover a tiny bit of the edge of the image, and while it's still kind of in the process of being applied, it is still kind of removable and kind of repositionable. And then you just keep going over it with your finger. Take nice sharp scissors. I love these scissors. And I'm gonna go gently over the edge here, try to be as close as possible. And I'm going to do it on the other side. Just press the scissors against the book, this way you get nice even cut. And there you are. And then you close it and you do more of massaging. And you have the page secured. You can now color it without the fear that the book is going to fall apart, and it still lays flat. So there, as easy as that. Of course, you know, the black tape is my taste, but you can use white masking tape, you can use yellow masking tape, you can use purple masking tape. Of course, you're better off going with, you know, if you're getting it narrow ones. These are, I think it's 1.5 centimeters, maybe. It's quite narrow, but you know, narrower ones are better for this, so you wouldn't cover up too much of your page. You know, each side. Here it doesn't really matter that it goes more into this side because there's only this small image here. It works perfectly fine. But yeah, this is going to keep my book intact, and I am quite happy with myself. So maybe you thought of it, maybe not, but now you've seen it. So I have this idea that I want these patterned dresses to be actual patterned paper, and I have not done paper piecing for longest time, so I was kind of trying to figure out how to do it. There's loads of different methods, of course. First, I was kind of checking out if it would work with light board or whatever it's called. I have this A4 little board, and you can put it behind the paper and the paper flows through. The problem is that this is double-sided book, so I see two different line art together already, and if I try to put pattern paper or any paper on top, this board isn't strong enough so I would actually see anything through it. So that was out. I also thought about tracing and cutting pieces out and tracing them to paper, but that just sounds like a lot of steps and would annoy the heck out of me, considering there's kind of bits and pieces here anyway that I would, you know, want to make sure that are transferred to the paper. So I came up with this method that we are going to try now. So this Lady Danbury is her character name in the Bridgerton series. I thought that I would use this paper for her kind of a jacket or coat. I think it would look cool, a bit different. And then because I only have one sheet of that, and it won't be enough. And also it would be kind of, I think, a bit overpowering if it was kind of this really big pattern all over the coat. So I thought I'll do the sleeves with that, and we'll see what's going to happen to us. And to make sure that I can actually, like here, the sleeve is easy to kind of cut off, you know, where one fabric ends and one starts, another starts. Here it's a bit trickier, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this bit like this here, so it's going to be easier for me to figure out. And another thing that I took is carbon paper or tracing paper, or it's not tracing paper. Okay, tracing paper is something you see through usually. Transfer paper, I think, is the correct name for that. And this transfer paper, I hope it still works, because this is from my childhood. That's long time ago. This, yeah, is ancient, and somehow it has moved with me. I don't know even reasoning or why it has actually moved with me to Ireland. So there we go. So I'm going to put this paper. I hope it's not going to move now. Let's hope not. So we need to put this paper behind her, so all the dress bits that will need this paper will be covered. That's actually going to be trickier than you'd think. I might need to piece here even more or separately, because it seems that it might be. Yeah, well, we'll see if that's going to work for me. So I need it to be, yeah, here. And then I'm going to put the tracing paper on top of it. Ha 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 ha. Please don't move. Okay. Please don't move. Okay. And I'm going to put the sheet back on. And now I'm just taking black pencil and I'm just going over the lines. And I'm tracing all the line art with all the kind of shadow areas as well, which I will then need to draw onto that paper over with kind of a fine liner. Ouch! Okay, that didn't go well for me. So this is going to be now riveting content of me tracing the lines. Now, moment of truth. Yeah, you can, I don't know how well you can see, it didn't really go down very strongly, but I can definitely see the kind of a gray lines here. So now I need to trace them over with black fine liner. So I'm going to do that in a moment, but before that I'm going to do the sleeves as well, and then I can do everything together. Okay, now I went over the lines with the pen. I didn't get very thick line here, although in the book it's very thick. But you know, if I feel like thickening them afterwards, I can always do that. I can't take the line weight away. I can always accentuate lines, and there's also going to be, of course, shading to some extent in it. So now I'm just going to cut it out, and then it's going to be the moment of truth. Will it actually fit and work? This reminds me, of course, why I never was much into paper piecing, because although you can get pretty cool results with it, it is actually quite time consuming and fiddly, and especially, you know, it's hard to get. I have to get a better carbon paper. I think my ancient transfer paper is not giving me very good results. I actually get fairly light gray results that are kind of hard to see. So we'll see how that's going to work out for us. I used to do more of it when I was doing card making, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, for some reason I've never really gone for it in the coloring books. I don't even know why. Okay, it's the moment of truth is getting closer. To see if this is going to fit. Oh, before I do that, I also need to cut out cut out that bit of sleeve here that my paper was too narrow for to trace all at the same time, so I had to do that separately. So, whew, all right, let's put it on. Okay. Oh yeah, I think we can do it. I totally think we can do it. And then I can, okay, let's see how this is going to fit. Yep, it's going to fit. Alrighty, now I need to find glue. One needs to find glue. Okie doke, now let's work with the glue. I have this Zig dual action glue pen. Hopefully it's going to be fine and still has enough glue in it, because to make that fit well I need to get glue pretty much, you know, to the pretty close to the edges so it wouldn't be sticking up or anything. But I need to work fairly fast so the glue wouldn't be dry before I actually get to the places. Okay, all right, okay, ha ha ha, now it's stuck to my finger. Messy moments. Okay, so let's get you down. All right, on this side, let's move it up and down on this side. Okie doke, we are getting there. And next one is here. I don't know yet, you know, what if it's going to be worth it, but I can darken. There's a little bit of a gap here, but I can darken the line there. I'll put some shading in there and we'll be fine. And then the sleeves, okay. I like these glue bottles or sticks because of the way they are applied. Okay, and here we go. This one needed to be kind of adjusted a bit. Okay, and the second sleeve, once again, this is a really nice glue, and it's relatively, you know, not very messy and relatively clean and precise where you put it, as opposed to the glue stick that goes all over the place and that I don't usually enjoy muchly. Okay, so you know that you are going to, the sleeve I know is a little bit too long, but that can be fixed, you know, afterwards. They can just cut off the bit. Do you know what? I think she looks cool, that pattern. Summery. And this is clearly summer here in this image. And I might do something for Lady Bridgerton as well. There we go. And she's all fancily dressed. So there. Isn't that cool now? Huh. Just needs a bit of shading. Work with some line weights, but I think it's kind of worth it. And I might have a look at her dress eventually as well. Oh, I have these papers with those really delicate floral patterns, and that would really go nice with her complexion. So maybe something like this for her. But you know, we'll see about that. Here, I put paper piecing on both coats. And I think they actually came out pretty cool. Once I did get the shading done and everything, I think it'll actually improve the page quite significantly and add interest. I'm not sure if I'm going to put any paper piecing or any pattern paper on any of the dresses here, because none of these are kind of central characters here. The ones that do have patterned dresses are kind of strong dresses. So I don't really want to pull much attention to them. I might just do kind of a quickie pattern, because in these faces that are kind of slightly hidden, I'll probably not even put full and very detailed shading onto those faces. I'm going to do very basic shading because there's no point, like, you know, the way their faces are kind of behind those curly cues, which kind of annoys me slightly. You know, why are these things kind of in front of the faces like this in her eye? That kind of feels wrong, but you know, we'll get over it. So, paper piecing. Might start doing it again a little bit more when I feel like it. It's not too bad. I kind of figured it out, the method that works for me. And, you know, that's the main thing. Hope you maybe can do something similar as well if you feel like it. I have been complaining a lot about these gel pens, which are the older version of Languo's 1mm color painting plus gel pens, and these are the ones that you actually have to press on constantly to keep them writing. I have talked about that in pretty much in detail. So if you just pull it over the paper like this, nothing happens. You have to press on it and then, you know, keep the pressure on, and then you get like really juicy. You can see how shiny it is. And, you know, they've been annoying me because I definitely do not, you know, they're hard to use because of that. They're hard on your hands. And I've been trying to kind of find some sort of a use for them. And here, I've actually kind of, you know, I'm now trying out kind of what I can do. This book, this is the book. I like the concept, you know, that you're learning something as you're coloring type of a thing. And here I used Neo Color tools in the background, which was kind of a mistake because they did not behave well in this paper, and you can see how it all broke into dots as I was diluting them. And I don't know if I'm going to smooth it out or I'm just going to leave it kind of really textured and go really vibrant on top of this background. So I suspect this is what I'm going to end up doing. So here I'm taking this color painting. This is one of the bit of a neon sets they have, and I'm putting color onto the tips of the petals like this. And you know, if you do a small area like this, holding, you know, getting the pressure down isn't a problem at all. And then I'm grabbing the water brush and I'm bringing the color down, because when I was putting Neo Color 2 down, I kind of also managed to get some of it. I had already put some layer of color down onto these petals, but now I kind of contaminated them with blue and they don't look great. So we are going to do something about it. So I'm putting pink neon on top of all of these petals. I'm just doing, and I'm going to pull it down. Okay. Just kind of make them more solid and vibrant. And eventually, when they're all done and dried, and I have put all colors down, I probably will go over the outlines of the petals with a thinner, like 0.6 millimeter pens, because I don't want the black here anymore now for these petals. But I think these ones would be a bit too thick. They would kind of overpower the petals and just totally take over. So I will probably need to use the 0.6 ones. And because these ones are waterproof, this is acrylic type of ink. It's, some websites say it, some don't, but essentially what it is, it dries waterproof. So once you do that wash, and by the time you're doing one flower or second flower, the first flower is already dry, and then you can just keep adding layers. You can put on however many colors and little details and shadings you want into these ones. So I think there's a potential there, that I can use them with something that, waste not, want not. There's no point having something that you can't use at all, and I would feel super wasteful if I just tossed them. Okay, so let's see if we can get closer here. All right, so I have put these on the tips already, and I'm now adding more here. There was already, okay, that's my lady here who came and started demanding something. Will you jump onto the couch, okay? What? I'm sorry. So I'll just keep adding color here. She had a chair, had moved. One of the rolling chairs had been moved, so it was blocking her couch, and I didn't see it, and she was very annoyed with me. That's what that protesting was all about. We are just servants of our dog. Oh. And after I do the outlines, which I will show in a second, these will look pretty nice. So I did outlines on this flower petals with Jelly Roll Moonlight. It's a neon, but I also found, I don't know if it's a Languo or some other brand, but I found a neon gel pen with 0.6 needle head, which I think will work better. Let me see if I can get it nicely working. Yes, I like that one better. For this kind of a line covering like this, it just doesn't overpower as much and leaves a cleaner result. So yeah, that would be nice. It's a bit warmer than the neon pink I used here in the tips of the petals, but since it's getting kind of orange and warm towards the center of the flower anyway, that kind of works. So I think it's nice and gives, well, natural is the wrong word. Nothing about this color combination here is natural. but it gives, yeah, cleaner, I think is the right word, or nicer, more deliberate result. You know, it doesn't look like here you can see, you know, there's lines covering, whereas in this one it looks very smooth, and that's because I'm using a slimmer gel pen, which is why I love those 0.6 millimeter needle head gel pens so much, Languo or not, because they give this, you know, you can go thicker because you can just, you know, kind of cover thicker line by working it with several strokes, or you can go really kind of delicate and precise, and I really like that. Plus, of course, there's so many other things you can do with them. It's, especially now lately, last month or so, people have been playing more and more with them and kind of discovering not just, you know, the line covering and writing and such and highlighting, but, you know, all the other things you can actually do with a gel pen, and that we never really thought of previously, that okay, yeah, this, I could do that with gel pens. Some of us did. I have seen some videos where, you know, people tell, oh, you can actually, you know, do all sorts of things, and you can blend them and you can dilute them, but not many of us did. I did some blending, but I didn't do much diluting. But yeah, now I'm discovering them more and more. Just the same way I have discovered for myself the acrylic, you know, brush marker, or kind of acrylic markers, and, you know, all sorts of things that I can do with them, and I really enjoy them and pretty much, you know, use them constantly for different pages. So yeah, you can definitely see, you know, how much nicer this looks from the different flower. And, you know, that's sort of an experimentation book, and this is definitely going to be more of an experimentation, almost flat coloring book for me. That sort of an experimentation page. I don't, you know, I'm not bothered that, you know, all the flowers don't look identical and whatnot. For me, the main thing is kind of try out things here and play, and that will give me the best idea, you know, what, you know, if I'm doing a page that I do want that precision and kind of a challenging things, then I have the knowledge and skill, hopefully, eventually, to actually apply them. Okay, so I found, what about the greens? Okay, so if I just put this one down, and it's the same story. Yeah, in a long line you really don't want to, because you run into that nasty pressure issue. Like, I can put it down on small area and then pull it to both sides. This is pretty much the best I can do here. And I could possibly then maybe, you know, kind of put color variations down as well. Let's say I have several of them open, and I might have and I might have different color here, and some of them seem to be juicier and working better. This because that dark one actually, you know, went down much nicer and smoother and less pressure than that light one, for no conceivable reason, because to the same gel pens. But yeah, you can see how you can already, you know, put down essentially shading while you're doing. Just putting down gel pens, starting from the lighter ones, working into the darker one, being quite gentle about it. Okay, I went a bit sloppy here, but we all learn. Sorry you weren't able to see. So putting some color here and putting some color here, making sure that the tip is nice and bright. You can see how it starts, you know, scratching. And maybe put some yellow here, just for funsies, and see how this is going to work out. Oh, sorry, wrong brush. Just blending. Oops. Okay, and then afterwards I can go over the lines with finer pen, and that pretty much takes care of the problem here. So once again, let's do this leaf here, similar way. Let's give the bottom more dark. This particular pen, the next one I'm doing in, that just doesn't work very well. I really have to put pressure on to get any paint on, and you know, it is automatically, of course, not great to work. It's not obviously as juicy then either. Okay, and let's start. I keep taking the wrong brush. Okay, so diluting the green one, diluting the darker one, bringing them together, swiping off a bit, and now blending that really bright yellow into them. See how easy. And in mostly the lines are already covered. Like there's some left. Oh, I'm so sorry now that I picked this specific pen to do these colors here, because it's a pain. It doesn't go well at all. The other ones go, you know, although you still have to get the pressure on, but at least you can get some color down pretty easily. But these ones, it's just a pain. That's the specific color here. This one is absolute nightmare, that pen. So yeah, they're not all, you know, some of them are a little bit smoother than others. Hey, it's all a learning process. But it does look kind of painterly, doesn't it? Even though it's just gel pens. But it is acrylic ink. I'm pretty sure it's basically just acrylic ink. There you go. It's not bad. And then of course I'm going to go over the lines, and I probably add a bit more highlight with the yellow once it's dry. But yeah, there's definitely something I can use them for, in putting down small areas and just blending them together and blending with other options. I have mentioned in my previous videos that I got these watercolors that I really like. There's 4 sets of them. They go by kind of like seasons, and they're like seasonal color palette, the stylized, curated colors. They are in big kind of a Chinese / Japanese, you know, Eastern style watercolor pans, and these are similar to Kuretake Gansai Tambi, which most of us kind of know, but they do try, although they look kind of shiny in the pans, as you can see. I presume that if you put them on thick enough, they will get shiny on the paper as well. But they go down on the paper. You can go quite intense without it becoming kind of slippery and impossible to work on afterwards with any pencils. So I'm actually quite happy with them, you know. I'm able to put them down and afterwards go over with pencils, kind of, and they are beautiful color palettes. So what happened was that I was surfing. When you're in slump, you kind of tend to TEMU surf or Amazon surf occasionally to try to waken yourself. And I found these on TEMU. They are kind of also Chinese style watercolor sets. There was actually 4 of them, and now I'm kind of sorry I didn't take them. They were really cheap. They were not expensive. They come like in little eyeshadow palette type of sets, and there's 6 on this side, so there's, you know, and 4 on this side, so there's 24 colors in one little palette like this. And it's a mix of metallics and non-metallic colors. So, and I think in some of them you have more metallics, like in this one you have loads of metallics, and this one you have only few metallics. And they're very kind of limited, very curated, kind of stylized palettes. And they had, I don't remember what the 4th one was, but they had also green one, another green dominant one, which I'm now kind of sorry I didn't, I did find it and order it because I do like them. I've tried them, and they are kind of surprisingly vibrant. And you know, I was not expecting much of them when I saw them at first. I was like, oh, you know, it's going to be, you know, one of those cheap, not very great things, but they're actually very pigmented and fun. So I would have liked to have gotten all 4 of them, but I did get the green one. I think the 4th one is already gone. You can't find it anymore. So I thought, there's no names, of course, to any of the colors, and I don't really care, you know, if they're light fast, if they have names, they're going to be used in coloring books or possibly sketchbooks, and they're never going to see light of day, meaning they're not going to be on the wall or anywhere that they might actually, you know, lose their vibrancy because of the light. They have names. This set, I think, is just called Purple Butterfly or something like this. And this one is inspired by Forbidden City. I think it's actually called Forbidden City. And you can see this kind of a rich reds and golds, kind of a dominant color palette. So I thought I might do a bit of a quick swatching here in front of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking my, just because there's metallics, otherwise I wouldn't bother, but because there's metallics here as well, I'm going to pre-wet those palettes. Otherwise I probably wouldn't do it, but because they do activate super easily. But you know, like with any metallic, it gets off the palette easier if you're actually, you know, pre-wet it a little bit. Okay, so let's see. And I have my tissue here. Should we get a little bit closer? So as I said, there are no names. So I just have my water brush. I don't think I'm going to be very bothered You know, it's always going to be more of a kind of a fun and novelty and playing in books that I just like to put some color down or watercolor down. I like the limited nature of these palettes. I am sorry about the focusing problems in the beginning. It will get better as I learn to position my hand better. You can see they go down pretty smoothly. I'm going to mess up here in a moment. I'm going to put wrong colors. Yeah. And there's going to be little arrows all over the place. And yeah, they go down smoothly and nicely and can be diluted very easily and also have very kind of a strong pigment laydown. So yeah, they're pretty fun and interesting colors, as you can see here. And this is now the Forbidden City inspired palette, which, as you can see, is predominantly metallics. Really nice, very kind of a deep, rich, luxurious colors in this one. And as you can also see how easily the metallics wet and go down. They go down pretty opaque actually for a metallic paint. So absolutely, yeah, kind of recommending these. They are fun and easy to work with. And matte. I have to say I am quite impressed by these paints, to be honest. Like, I did not expect them to be that nice, but they really are. These, and I can also show you that they, even if they're laid down pretty thick, they still have matte finish on the paper, so the pencil will go on top of them really nicely. And I love this kind of a lot of difficult and interesting colors here in this purple butterfly palette. I of course messed up here. This row is a mess, just arrow there and arrow there. I'll figure it out. I really didn't want to start, you know, making another little chart like this. So yeah, they're nice. And what I actually was also super impressed by is how smoothly and pretty opaquely the metallics went down and how easily they activated. Like, they needed very little paper, a little bit of kind of working them on the well here, and they were ready to go and they went down. You can see, for example, this one, like, this is almost like solid with one layer, and it's applied with water brush, meaning they, you know, had a constant flow of water into them as well, which can sometimes kind of hinder the metallic paints because you want them to be as concentrated as possible, but those just go down so well. And this one, the Forbidden City one here, you can see particularly well. You know, this is mostly metallics. There's very few. This one isn't metallic here, that kind of a Chinese lacquer box red, which is really beautiful. This one isn't metallic. This one isn't metallic. And then here, these aren't metallic. That white I managed to dirty a bit, but you know, that can be worked by. And these can absolutely work like skin colors, and this kind of a ochreish tone is also kind of a plain matte color, and this is a really nice rich black, which also is matte. But the same story here, like the metallics activate super easily and go down nice and smooth and pretty opaque on the first go. Like, you don't have to work them hard at all. So very nicely pigmented. Very much impressed with them. So here they are. I'm going to stick them into the, actually I'm going to stick them by the way, just in case they get, you know, sometimes pan is still a bit wet, so when I put them things into the lid, I actually have them facing the other way, so even if this side gets slightly dirty, the side that has the swatches on it is still going to be fine. So yeah, very nice. Very happy. when covering the lines, if you should choose to do so, a lot of us go for this kind of cliche that we need to use pastel colors always. And that is not exactly true, and in some cases can kind of be detrimental. You're better off often even to use darker colors for covering the lines, and you know, something that is just a little bit close. You don't have to find the exact match. That's, you know, another myth. There's no need really to have, you know, 300 gel pens to find the exact match of, let's say, this color. Something close enough is going to be fine. And even if you covered it with kind of a darker version of that, it would still look more illustrative and kind of like independent, like your page, you know, your artwork, as opposed to, you know, black line art. But here, what I wanted to show quickly is there's trees in the distance here, and a tree that is close by that the Red Riding Hood is sitting under. So the trees in the distance, the foliage or the green is done kind of in duller and darker green tones, and the tree that is close to us here has kind of bright green tones. So of course, for the lines here in the foliage, I chose a green that is quite natural, but not light at all. You know, this is not light green, but it works so much better here. Because if I put something very bright and light into those lines there in the background, then that would bring those trees forward and, you know, bring more attention to them, which we don't really want. We just want them to be kind of background element that our eye doesn't really travel much to at all. The goal is really to get the eye to look here into this little scene underneath the tree, with all the little animals and birds and flowers and her sitting there with a basket. The background should be exactly that, background. So if we get it too bright and too distinctive, we're actually kind of not ruining the image exactly, but we're working against our own purpose. So here you can see just a little bit. It wasn't even super necessary there, but sometimes I just, you know, on some pages it doesn't really bother me, or, you know, I don't care, and sometimes I just want most of the lines covered. And in this instance, I wanted them covered, so my page, my rules. And then for the foliage here, I'm showing, this is the green I'm using, and it's quite light, but it's very close. You know, it's not super light. Like, I could get lighter and brighter than that. I really don't want to. I want it to look kind of close-ish, and just, even if it doesn't perfectly cover the lines, that's never been kind of a big deal for me, as long as it softens the lines. I don't have this, you know, you can't see any dark line through at all. This is not the purpose for me. The purpose to me is to soften them and make the page look a bit more organic. And of course, there's different ways of doing that, and I do have in my head a plan to do kind of a bigger video about covering lines and how to disguise lines. Not just cover them, but, you know, kind of how to make them disappear and how to disguise them. there's different ways. There's kind of a pre-treatment of the lines, and there's doing it during the coloring, there's doing it after the coloring, which is what I'm doing here now. So there's different methods, there's different media you can use, different results, and sometimes you can achieve it without using any covering of the lines at all. Lines can be disguised with contrast, and that is something that I would also like to show. I think that's actually the best, best looking method out there. So you can see now the difference. It's not huge, but I think it adds to it, especially because I wanted this page to be fairly kind of organic. It's a forest scene, so I wanted it to be very, very natural and full of, in this instance, not very sharp shadows, kind of different varieties and shades and temperatures of green, obviously, or a must, since we are here in the forest, so you need to use a lot of greens. But yeah, just showing you a little moment of how I treat the lines at the end of coloring my page. And thing about it is, of course, that this will add quite a bit of time to finishing your page. If you don't cover lines, sometimes it can save as much as, depending on how detailed the page is and how much you're doing, it can sometimes save 1/3 of the coloring time, because sometimes it can be quite a work and quite time-consuming endeavor to actually get all the lines disguised and get them to disappear. It is possible, but yeah, it can be work-consuming. But at the same time, I often do like the results, so I pretty often take that time, because it's all about what you like, what you want your final result to look like. What sort of a finish do you enjoy? And if you enjoy this kind of a more painterly or illustrative finish, then you just take the time. That's about it. That's all there is to say. It's getting quite late here, and I really should go to bed soon. But I managed to at least put the base down, or the background down, on 1/2 of the spread. And here you can see how evenly and smoothly, it's just one layer, and that's how smoothly it went down on the satin glazing base. So that's actually an idea, if you want a really quick and smooth background like this, or kind of coverage like this, basing the page with satin glazing would probably be a good idea. That is a use of satin glazing I was not aware of previously, but there you go. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Very happy to have spent some time with you. And my dog is whining because she wants to go downstairs. So thank you once again, and wishing you all the best. Happy crafting, happy coloring, and if you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and bye bye.